He was the only one. The only black officer in the entire United States Army, the most qualified soldier in the nation for World War I. And on June 6, 1918, at age 54, he mounted a horse and rode 497 miles to prove he was alive. Colonel Charles Young, born into slavery in Kentucky in 1864. His father escaped slavery and joined the Union Army. This son went to West Point, one of only 3 African Americans to graduate in the institution's first 133 years, class of 1889. According to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, he was the only black officer promoted to colonel in the entire U.S. Army, the highest-ranking African American military leader in the nation. He had everything: experience commanding cavalry, combat medals from Mexico, the Spingarn Medal from the NAACP for his service, an expertise in military intelligence, languages, Latin, Greek, French, Spanish, German, an exemplary record spanning decades, and they said he couldn't serve. In 1917, the Army promoted Charles Young to colonel, but the same day they told him, "Your blood pressure is too high, you're medically unfit, you're retired, no command, no troops, no World War I, nothing." But here's the truth according to documented military records. 2 medical boards recommended his retirement be waived. His own doctors said he was fit. The chief medical officer disagreed. And suddenly, the most qualified black officer in America was told to go home. Young didn't accept it. For a year, he wrote letters. He appealed to the War Department. He pleaded his case. Nothing worked. The system wasn't listening, so he decided the system needed to see. On June 6, 1918, Colonel Charles Young mounted his horse in Wilberforce, Ohio, and began riding toward Washington, D.C. At 54 years old, in the middle of summer, for 16 days, covering 497 miles, riding through towns where he was recognized, sleeping in the saddle, all to prove one thing: I am still here, I am still capable, I am still worthy. According to newspaper accounts documented in the Smithsonian Institution archives, when Colonel Young arrived in Washington, D.C. on June 22, 1918, people stood in the streets watching. The Cleveland Advocate reported, "The colonel looks fit for an endurance hike or for service at the front." He met with Secretary of War Newton D. Baker. He told him, "I can serve. I want to serve. Let me lead." The Secretary of War was unmoved. 3 months later, 3 months, the armistice was signed. World War I ended. Colonel Young was reinstated to active duty, but the war he was meant to fight was already over. He never commanded troops in France. He never led the Black Division they were preparing. Instead, they sent him to Liberia, Africa, a diplomatic posting. The consolation prize for a man who had fought his entire life. That's the system. That's how it worked. Take a man born into slavery. Let him graduate from West Point. Let him serve your country with distinction. Let him earn medals and respect. And then when he's finally earned the position he deserves, tell him he's sick. Tell him he can't do it. And when he rides 500 miles to prove you wrong, ignore him anyway. But here's what the system didn't count on: Charles Young's legacy. According to the U.S. Army official records, on November 6, 1918, Colonel Young was officially recalled to active duty. But armistice came 5 days later. November 11th, the war ended. Young was relieved of duties in February 1919. He died in Liberia in 1922 at age 57. A kidney infection. Never got to command the troops he trained. Never got promoted to brigadier general when he was alive. Never got the position he earned. But in November 2021, 99 years after the Army forced him to retire, the U.S. Army posthumously promoted Charles Young to brigadier general. Not because they suddenly became just, but because history demanded it, because his legacy wouldn't let them ignore him, because one man riding a horse 500 miles for respect changed how we measure excellence. This Black History Month, ask yourself, how many Colonel Charles Youngs are still in that saddle? How many qualified leaders are being told they're not fit? How many extraordinary people are being held back by systems that fear their excellence? The difference is the video, the documentation, the witness. Young rode in 1918. We have cameras in 2024. We have evidence. We have proof. So the question isn't whether we believe him. The question is whether we have the courage to be the change he demanded with every mile of that ride. Colonel Charles Young proved his worth 500 miles and 99 years ago. Now it's our turn to prove ours by making sure no one ever has to ride that far for respect again.